What's going on, folks? Thanks for hitting that download button and checking out a brand new episode of Toys and Tech of the Trade, your one-stop shop for toys, tech, and talk with some assembly required. I'm your host, Rich, and if this is the first time you're checking out an episode, first of all, welcome. Second, a bit about what we do here. Toys and Tech of the Trade is an interview series where we sit down with content creators, entrepreneurs, and just awesome folks that are on our radar and discuss the gadgets, the gear, and the tech that they use to run their business, create content, and of course, be more productive. Now, when it comes to the toys aspect of our podcast, it's not just the usual conversations about action figures, Gundams, Funko Pops, the usual stuff you would think of when you think of toys. We look at toys in a more broad sense. So that knife collection you have, your comic books, your jet skis, your vintage cars, those are all toys. And we like to embrace the more general definition here on this podcast, number one, because it's awesome to learn about what people are into. But number two, it humanizes and breaks up the conversation so that it's not just all mindless entrepreneurial and business talk. We get to get into what makes our guests tick, and sometimes there's a lot of awesome commonalities along the way that allow for a better conversation. With that out of the way, a little bit of housekeeping, and we will turn it over to this week's guest. First and foremost, I would like to take the opportunity real quick to welcome the latest addition to the RageWorks Podcast Network family, and that is the Fight Insight podcast, hosted by Tim B. Tim is someone who I connected with in a local podcasting group. Funny enough, it was for podcasters in New York, even though Tim is from Canada. We really connected, number one, because of our love for MMA, but just because I really appreciated the enthusiasm that he put not only into his podcast, but just into his coverage of mixed martial arts and combat sports in general. Tim reached out to me recently and expressed interest in working with us and sharing his podcast with the RageWorks Podcast Network audience. And as of right now, I think we're on our fourth or fifth episode published in the RageWorks podcast feed. So make sure to look for it there, or of course, just punch in the Fight Insight podcast wherever you consume your podcasts. Now to this week's guest that just so happens to come to us by way of our friends at Podmatch. I've talked about Podmatch before, but just real quick, Podmatch is a service that connects you with potential guests for your podcast. Simple. It really is exactly as it sounds. It matches you with potential guests for your podcast, or it matches podcasts with you so that you can be a potential guest. It is an incredibly underrated thing to get yourself seen, heard, and noticed to go on other podcasts. People ask me all the time, Rich, how do I grow my show? How do I get myself noticed? And I tell them, I'm like, go on a podcast, go on two podcasts, try and go on one podcast a week that is relevant to your interests and relevant to your podcast. Trust me, there are plenty of podcasters out there that would love to have you as a guest. It boggles my mind how many people I say that to, and they're just like, really? And I'm like, yes, go out there, get yourself heard, get yourself seen, have great stories, be of service, bring value. And if you bring value to someone's show, their audience will follow, especially if you connect with them and you bring them, like I said, value. They will definitely seek you out. So Podmatch gets a massive shout out. Alex Sanfilippo, who runs Podmatch, he's been a guest on this podcast before. Feel free to check out our conversation with him. Links to that will be in the show notes. But this week's guest is not only just an amazing creator, but just a fellow New Yorker. And I love to showcase and spotlight creators from the Big Apple, especially from the boroughs, because there's so many of us out there in the five boroughs of New York City that are just grinding and creating amazing podcasts and amazing stories. And I'm always honored and privileged to share their stories with you. So with that said, let me stop yammering and turn it over to this week's guest. My guest this week on Toys and Tech of the Trade is the one and only Real Wize, host of the Stuck in My Mind podcast, which yours truly happened to stop by not too long ago. He's stopping by, sharing the toys and tech of his trade, his origin story, and much more. Wize, what's going on, my brother?
What's going on, brother? How you doing today?
I am excited to actually chop it up with you, a fellow New Yorker, a fellow creator, somebody who's coming into the space, guns blazing, doing amazing work, creating great content. And I kind of want to start there in terms of your journey, because you've been podcasting for a decent amount of time, and yet your presentation, how you handled it, you would think that you've been in this 20 years, the way that you just approach the business and conduct yourself. And I want to start there, like with your origin story, like what made you want to get into podcasting?
Honestly, I had been wanting to podcast since 2019, and I actually purchased an equipment from Amazon. It was a Behringer podcast studio equipment, paid $160, and I was supposed to start a podcast with a friend of mine, and him and his girl ended up getting pregnant, so that put a kibosh to that. And so fast forward to 2020, I get furloughed from my job because of the pandemic, and I finally decided to press record. I had been messing around with the equipment for over a year and everything. And finally I built up the courage to I was on the phone with my nephew, and he had already started his YouTube channel and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm on the phone with my nephew. We just bugging out, having a good time talking here. Press record. And it was just a little 5-minute intro. And that's how Stuck in My Mind was born.
And the thing about it is that your approach, and when I did your show, I'm like, man, he's got his logo on point. He's got his video. You jumped in literally full speed, 10 toes in. Was that something that you said, listen, this is the only way that I'm going to take this seriously, by putting skin in the game?
You know what? I figured when I finally decided to press record and I uploaded and I got out of my comfort zone by doing that, I was like, and I found that this is something I'm really passionate. I didn't know, like, I'm 46 years old, and I didn't know what I was passionate about. I didn't know what was my passion, what was my purpose. And so when I started the podcast, at first it was just me coming on, talking about work, politics, the George Floyd situation. And yes, I enjoyed podcasting, but the content wasn't what I wanted. So when I switched to the conversation piece, that's when I really started falling in love with podcasting. That's when I really knew that this is what I wanted to do. And at first, I'm like, I hate the way I sound. I sound horrible. Can't believe who would want to listen to me. And then people would listen to the podcast and tell me like, yo, what's wrong with you? What do you mean? Like, yo, you sound like you are meant to talk on the radio. You have that radio voice. But to yourself, you like, nah, I don't sound that good.
Absolutely. We are our own worst critics. And you know what the funny thing is? Being a New Yorker, there's certain radio presence that you're used to. Like if you grew up listening to Hot 97, like it would be Funk Flex, Big Cap, real loud and explosive. Or if you were somebody that listened to talk radio, it would be like, real subtle and smooth, like Howard Stern or O&A. And then as time progresses, like anything else, I tell people all the time, like we absorb things that we draw inspiration from, whether it's comedy or stories or even radio. And one of the things that I noticed as I started podcasting, and I'm sure you did as well, is like you pick up little cadence and little things because you see those people that are really crushing it. And you're like, well, I could do it that way. And then what happens is you start, like you just said, you get in your own head and you're like, man, I sound too much like this dude. And you start kind of working away from that until you find your own voice. Did you run into that as you started podcasting?
Honestly, I kind of built, like, I have, my call where when I come in and I go, it's your boy Wize. And so to me, it was like, I needed I needed my own signature. Like at first, when I first started, it wasn't that way. But as I went along, I'm like, I need a little nice. I need something that fits me, something that I like. I like how you said how Funk Flex and everybody has their little
Yep.
their intro. Well, I was like, you know what? I took it kind of from E.T. and I just made it my own. But like you said, it's at first I was not that good. But as time went on and you improve and you continuously do it, it's like anything you do with practice, you improve.
Yep. The 10,000 hour rule is true. And I think that that's where people kind of get caught up in the nuances of podcasting. And we talked about this on your podcast, where people, they jump in, they have this expectation because, it's the cool thing and everybody's doing it. And it's like, listen, it's a very solitary endeavor because you're speaking into the void and you don't think anyone's listening. And then people will be like, yo, I heard you, or I saw you, or hey, I checked this out. And then what happens is that feedback is your currency to keep going. It's the juice that comes out, and people don't understand that in order to get there, you got to build that.
Yeah.
How was it for you? Like the first time somebody came to you and they were like, man, I heard your podcast, man. It was great. Like, how did that make you feel the first time?
Oh, that made me want to go harder.
Right.
That made me want to grind even harder because like somebody's listening. Somebody's actually getting something from what I'm doing. And one of the best emails I received was from a high school friend of mine. Me and another high school friend of mine, we did an interview, and he's a real estate agent in Brooklyn. He's killing the game over there. And we was just talking about goals, manifestation, and everything that we're doing to help build our success. And this person heard the episode, and they had been on the fence about starting their own business. And when they heard two people that they grew up with and went to school with and that they know personally, they were like, yo, these two dudes I know, they're doing their thing. Why can't I do it? They came from the same place I come from. Why can't I do it? And when they sent me that message and told me that, I was like, all right, I'm doing something right. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is my purpose right here. So that people who need that push to do something, but they're on the fence and they need that help with, like, they need someone that's just a regular person like them. And if anyone on my show comes on, and I want them to share their stories, because who knows who's out there listening to it. So it might be your episode that somebody listens to and they take something from it, especially two kids from New York doing what they're doing and grinding and building something. Who knows who's out there like, oh, these are two guys like me from New York. Maybe I can do what I have my mind, or what my dream is. And so I just want to inspire as many people as possible.
I'm right there with you. And I think that that's a big problem. As somebody who's been in the podcast space, and you're in the space as well, there's always a lot of, we need more representation in podcasting. We need more of this. We need more of that. And my response is always, the representation is there, but those representatives don't have champions. They don't have people that they can say, hey, this guy, hey, that guy. Because, one thing that's been happening as of late, I'm sure you're familiar at this point because he's all over the place, like Andrew Tate. Yes. Andrew Tate, he's out there, he's delivering his message. People like his message, they dislike his message, whatever the case may be. But the thing that always jumps out is that he's championing for men as a gender. It's not pretty. And, like I said, some people may think it's right or wrong or whatever, but that's a guy that he's talking about man business, problems, trials, tribulations, and things that people don't talk about when it comes to men. And I feel that as minorities, that happens too. Like, everybody's kind of in their own lane. Nobody wants to help anybody because they feel, oh, if I share my info, he's going to steal my, and I always tell people, I'm like, listen, do you understand that 99% of the stuff we all put out, you, me, and everybody else, 1% of the people actually listen. That's why I'm not worried about it. Like, people be like, oh, you should put out a book or a course. So I'm like, why? no, like if people really want to do this, and look what you did, you wanted to do it, you sought it out, and you learned and you leveled up. And like I said, your presentation's on par with legit players in the game. And that's because you believe in yourself and you take it seriously.
Wow. Thank you. I really appreciate that, man. That to me is to come, especially coming from you, someone who's been in the game as long as you've been in the game, to tell me that right there just blows my mind, because it's just, I just look at it as like, yo, I just put in the work, man. I love what I do. And when the moment I knew that this is what I wanted to do, I started investing in myself.
Mm-hmm.
I purchased a Rodecaster Pro. I invested in a quality camera. I invested in some quality mics. And it was because I felt that, listen, people are giving me something very precious, and that's their time. And I felt that since they were giving me their time, then it's up to me to give them the best quality that I can.
I agree.
And so to me, it was a no-brainer that once I found out this was my purpose, this is what I wanted to do, then I've invested. Like I said, I was furloughed from my job. I had, the government was giving out that extra money. And instead of taking that money and blowing it, I invested in myself. I took courses. Like I said, I purchased equipment, and it was just me wanting to improve, me wanting to get better, me wanting my content to be the best quality I can make it.
Yeah, I think that's where people, they don't understand that there's a science to this. And, when people say, oh, I want to start a podcast, how can I do it for free? How can I do this? How can I do that? I always, and I've, I think I said it to you. It's like, I gotta be the bubble burster and be like, listen, like if you're already looking for the free lunch or the hand me or the give me, you're not going to win, because this is a game of longevity. It's a game of inches. And the thing is that, like you said, we are fighting for people's attention. And at the end of the day, people are like, oh, there's, 200,000 podcasts. And I always say, yes. How many of them are still making content?
Yeah. That's one thing I learned recently. Everybody's talking about, oh yeah, there's 2.5 million podcasts now.
Yep.
And you'll be amazed at how many are really truly active right now.
Yep.
And when I saw that number, I was like, like only that many?
Yep.
That's it? And it blew my mind. I'm like, because people that means people started and they quit quickly. Because from 2.5 million, only 400 and something thousand are active. And that means active means having an episode released within the last 30 days.
Yep.
2.5 million. The audience is out there, because the content is people. To me, I feel like they want instant gratification. They want to upload the episode and get the 10,000 downloads just like that. That's not how it's going to happen.
No, it's not. Unless
you're a celebrity and you already have a following, then maybe. But us independent podcasters, we have to grow this. So if you think you're going to come in here and you're going to get all these downloads, that's when reality is going to smack you in the face.
Nope. It's going to be one of those situations where people are going to be shocked to see what happens. And I tell people all the time, and, I'll reshare it in this conversation with us. Buzzsprout put out an article, and they said that if your show is receiving 30 or more downloads within 7 days of releasing a new episode, it places you in the top 50% of all podcasts. Think about that. 30 simple downloads. And to make your way to the top 1%, you'd need 4,200 downloads in the first 7 days. So taking that into consideration, you literally need 30 people. That means you can essentially get 5 people a day over 6 days out of the 7. And you literally hit 30.
And that's, I average probably the first week, I probably averaged that like 25 to 30 downloads.
Yep.
That first week. And then eventually it'll go, I'll end up probably with 60 or 70. And to me, I love that. Like, people think, oh, you need this big audience. No.
Nope.
You to especially when it comes to other things that you're trying to do, if you want to do merch and all that. I'd rather take 100 loyal listeners.
Yes.
That support me and buy my merch and buy whatever I'm trying to sell, whatever, because they believe in me, than having 10,000 people listen to me and not purchase anything at all.
That right there, my friend, is the exact lesson. And I'm glad you actually brought that to the forefront. Too many people do that. And the worst part of it is that the people that end up supporting those endeavors are usually complete strangers. Yes. And, you know, and for context, I'll use an example. Decided to make merch, put out a t-shirt. Obviously, man, you know, we're doing this bootstrapped. So we're not making the shirts ourselves. We got to split the price with
profit.
Yeah, with Printify or whoever. So
whoever you go with. Yeah.
Yep. Hey man, I'm making a shirt. It's $25. Yo man, you really want somebody to pay $25 for that shirt? Well, clearly you're not paying $25 for that shirt. You know, like that's exactly the message I got through like Facebook. Like, yo man, like, yo, you really want $25 for that shirt?
No,
and I said,
I feel you. I feel you, because people, like, at first I was upset because my friends and family weren't supporting me.
Yep.
And I was like, but then I started realizing, like, you know what? All right, let me not have that hold me back. So I just continue grinding. And then you start connecting with people. They start supporting you. They start buying. Like, I just relaunched my merch store. And already I've had someone, a fellow podcaster that we've become good friends. He was the first one to purchase anything before anyone in my family, anything. Yep. And I appreciate that. I love that. And I try to do the same thing whenever I see a podcast or a friend of mine launch a program, launch a book, whatever it is. I try to support, because I want them to support me. So how do I expect anyone to support me if I'm not supporting anyone else?
Yep.
So when people be like, oh, yeah, it's $25. I'm like, okay, it's $25. All right. I'm not telling you to buy 20 million shirts. But if you don't got $25 to buy a shirt, hey, I'm not knocking it. But you probably got $60-$70 to buy a Gucci shirt, right?
Yep.
Or buy a brand name shirt.
Yep.
But instead of supporting a friend, I'm not telling you got to wear the shirt. If you want to buy it and hang it up in your closet, go do that.
Yep.
But support your friends. Support a small business owner. Support them.
Yep. Because that's the thing. And people, they always lean. There's always two sides of that too. Then there's the people that lean on it from, oh, nobody supported me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but what are you doing to earn that support? So it's a double-edged sword. But the thing about it is that, and our conversation is very important to me for this reason. It's because, like, listen, like Wize just said, creators, you got to support creators, because at the end of the day, you buy that shirt, you might be buying that shirt for the next Joe Rogan. You might be buying that shirt, you know, for the next, you know, Howard Stern. You might be that, and you could say, hey, I was there. And that's what people don't understand sometimes. It's not an investment in a t-shirt. It's an investment in a body. It's an investment in a human.
Yeah, it's an investment in my business. It's an investment in whatever I'm trying to do.
Yep.
And it's crazy because we're as minorities, we don't support each other.
Hell no.
We don't.
Nope.
And it's crazy. But you'll go out and go buy a pair of Yeezys, spend $300-$400.
Yep.
On a celebrity who doesn't give a damn about you.
Nope.
But you got a homeboy who's making some t-shirts or whatever they're selling or whatever they're doing, and you're knocking his hustle.
Yep.
Something has to change.
But that's a problem, unfortunately, that it's inherent because we are. I said this to somebody recently. It's the message is always going to be that my opportunity is taking away your opportunity, and it's really not. Like, if you think about it. I
understand that. Yeah. I don't understand that. How is that possible?
Exactly. Like, and it happens. And this is the thing that people don't understand that. And me and Wize are having this conversation because we see it day to day. Like people who sit there and you'll be like, hey, I'm going to open a bodega. Why are you opening a bodega? There's 5 bodegas here. That's not what I want to hear. Oh, word? What are you going to sell there? What's your special going to be? You're going to have bacon, egg, and cheese? You're going to have a guy making sandwiches? Like, not, why are you opening that bodega? There's 5 bodegas on the block. Like, That's not what people want to hear. And unfortunately, we are good for that.
Yeah.
We're good for that. Why are you going to do a podcast, yo? There's so many podcasts out there. Why you got to be? Come on, man. Everybody has a podcast. You going to be part of that? Yes. Because guess what? Somebody is out there yearning to hear content from someone like me.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you with you 100%. And for me, it's like I create the content. Yes, I create my content and I put it out there and people consume it. But it's like I'll be looking at some of the people that I know and I'm like, dude, like all it takes for you to, or like for us, like in our case, sometimes all it takes for you to do is share.
Yep.
Like if I post my latest episode, share it.
Yep. That's all it takes.
Share it. That's all it takes. I'm not asking you to buy anything. Share the episode. What's so hard? But it's like people who know you don't want to see you better than what they are.
Yep. Crabs in a bucket.
They don't want to see you succeed because they're not attempting their dreams. They're not making themselves uncomfortable. They're complacent. They want you to be complacent with them. They want you to be, like you said, crabs in a barrel.
Yep. I said to a friend of mine, he messages me, he goes, man, I need to try and make an extra $500 a month. And I go, okay. I said, listen, first place you want to make your first 500 is going in your closet. I said, you got sneakers in there, you got clothes in there you don't wear. I'm like, yo, photograph them, put them on Poshmark, put them on Mercari, put them on eBay, put the sneakers on GOAT because you can sell used sneakers there. Oh, I got to take pictures. I got to do all that. Then you don't want $500.
Yeah.
You don't want it because I'm telling you, you got $500 laying in your closet. Easy.
Definitely.
And people, that's the problem. And it's unfortunate that we have fallen into that. It's like we were talking about this, me and a group of people, about how most people don't learn, and you've probably seen it too, the basic survival skills. Meaning, like, there's no home ec in school. There's no wood shop. Nobody's teaching anybody a trade because everybody figures, yo, I can make money with my phone. And then you go, yeah, but you know that if you become a welder, you make $100 an hour. Oh, I'm not doing that.
They don't want to do the work.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Okay, so you want to make money posting pictures on Instagram. Okay, but why don't you learn the science of that? Watch a video, learn how to compose a photo. Yeah. A buddy of mine, he's like, yo, man, I really like photography. I said, listen, walk down your block, go to a couple real estate places. Say, listen, I saw your photos. Let me take some photos for you for free for like a month. If you like it, bring me on board. And then you do something unique that everybody else don't do. I'll be like, listen, man, buy a drone, rent a drone, do some overhead shots, do something real crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I gotta go to, you gotta go into a real estate and be like, listen, I'm a photographer. I'd love to take photos. What's wrong with y'all?
They want instant gratification, bro.
It's insane. It's literally crazy. And like they put out a piece recently about the top 10 people on TikTok that make millions. And they were talking about a girl. I think her name is Call Me Chris. And I remember I've seen her skits. She does skits with like tiny little hands you buy on Amazon.
Yeah. And
she was a hairstylist, lost her job during the pandemic, started doing skits on TikTok. Dude, I think she made like $4.5 million last year.
And listen, the bag is out there.
Yes, the bag is out there.
The bag, especially, listen, they have projected that YouTube was going to give out $20 billion in ad money to content creators.
Yep.
Now it's jumped up to over $100 billion.
Yep.
This next quarter. So you mean that all that money's out there and we can go out there and get it, but it's just not going to fall in our laps. We got to continue to grind. We got to continue to put in the work. We got to saying it's not going to happen, especially when you're independent.
Yep.
When you're independent, you don't have the big machine like Spotify, Apple, Google backing you.
Nope.
You do everything yourself. You edit, you promote, you do everything yourself. So of course it's going to be a little bit harder for you.
Yep.
That's the challenge you have to take, man. That's what you have to accept is that challenge is like, you know what? I'm going to do this regardless of what's in my way.
And it's true. I think, you sit back and you're looking at the fruits of your labor. We were talking about, you went to podcast movement, you walk up, you introduce yourself. Hey man, I'm a podcaster. Really? What's your podcast? Let me check it out. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, Wize, it was good meeting you at Podcast Movement, man. We should work on something. We should collaborate. We should work on something together. Like, people don't get that. It's like, listen, leave the block, leave the block.
Dudes don't know how to leave the block. So.
That's exactly it. Leave the block. Go out there.
Don't know how to leave the block.
Like,
and it's crazy because there's people in New York City that have never left New York City.
Yep. Leave the block. Go into a place and do. There's a guy, his name is Noah Kagan. He has a podcast and he worked for Facebook. He said, you want to test yourself? Go into every store and try and get a discount every day. Just go into like a Starbucks and be like, man, can I get 10% off? Maybe they'll say no, but maybe they'll say yeah. And the thing about it is, like, if somebody says, yo, it'll take you 100 no's to become a millionaire. You're going to go out there and get that no every day. Please say no. Please say no.
It's funny that you say that because when I first started podcasting, that's all I was getting was no's.
Yep.
That's all I was getting was people like, the first question is, how many downloads you got?
Yep.
How big is your audience? And I'm like, I'm just starting out.
Yep.
Yeah, hit me back later. Hit me when you grow more.
Yep.
And I kept going and no's and no's and no's until eventually it started turning into yeses.
Yep.
Until people started saying yes and like, hey, yo, I'll come on your show.
Yep.
And once that started happening, things started picking up. Now I'm picking up. Now I'm getting messages from people reaching out to me to be on my show.
Yep. It's a wonderful feeling. People don't get how crazy and how amazing that is. You open up your inbox and it's like, would love to come on your podcast and talk about X. What I do then is I test them and I go, oh, which was your favorite episode? Because, they'll be
because a lot of them already tell me.
Yep. And those are the real ones.
I've been blessed. Like, I've been lucky where the people, where they send me a message like, yo, I was listening to episode 78, this, and this. I enjoyed that. I'm like, all right, so this person is really listening to my stuff. Yes, I would love to have you on as a guest. Because that's showing me that you're serious about coming on my show.
Yep.
That you're seriously listening to what my content and my content fits what you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Like, I had someone tell me no the other day. Twice. I had 2 people tell me no within the last 2 weeks. And I didn't get offended because I didn't fit what they were trying to do.
Yep.
And I understand that. They're like, listen, thank you for reaching out, but you're not what I'm trying. And I respect that. I respect it. I respect that more than them telling me no because you don't have the right numbers.
Yep.
I'd rather them come and tell me no because, like, again, they feel that I don't fit what they're trying to promote.
And that's the thing. I think that part of the lesson in our conversation I want people to take away is exactly that. It's like, listen, you got to get the reps in. And not only that, but you have to make your approach unique from everybody else. Like, listen, instead of copying and pasting the same email, record a video. Hey, man, saw your stuff. Here it is on my phone. Would love to talk about it with you on a podcast. Would it take you 2 minutes to record it? Boom. Oh, instead of typing out a DM, hey man, voice note. Hey man, I heard you. I really thought it was awesome. I really would love to have a chat with you on my podcast. Let me know if you're interested. Literally takes 5 seconds.
Yeah.
We spend so much time consuming other people's content, but we don't put that same energy into growing our own. And then we're mad. Woe is me. What? Yo, man, I only got like 10 downloads this month. Did you do anything? Did you go on anybody else's podcast? I see you like it. I see you liking the photos that Complex put up. Why didn't you put up any photos this week? Why didn't you like stuff that was on Nice Kicks this week? Why,
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Oh, look at this pizza I ate. That's great. But how is that pizza you ate growing your business? Guess what? That pizza you ate is growing the pizzeria. It ain't grow. On the contrary, you're giving the pizzeria press. That's when you turn around and you go, hey man, I noticed you guys don't got an Instagram. I'd love to run it for you. Right there. Think about it. Right there. Right there. You flip the switch.
There's so many different ways because people, they want to get monetized. They want their podcast to get monetized.
Yep.
But they fail to realize there's other ways to make money.
Yep.
There's other ways. I've started making money editing other people's podcasts because that's something people hate to do.
Yes, sir. I know that from experience. It's one of our services. So it's true. Nobody wants to edit. People want to do the work. And you know what it is? I say this, and you'll probably agree. Listen, if me editing your show allows you to keep creating and gives you the energy and the bandwidth to keep creating, I'll keep editing. I'll keep editing to help you fulfill your dream. Because guess what? Your business is helping me live mine.
And it's listen, the hard work is paying off. Later on this month, I start work on a podcast with I've known her since kindergarten, and she reached out to me. She says, "Yo, I see you're doing your thing with your podcast. I'm interested in starting a podcast. What can we do?"
Yep.
And I said, "Listen, this is my feed. This is what I want. I'll help you build your podcast out." And she was like, "Deal. Let's do this."
There you go.
I'm saying, so that's my first big client. And it's because she saw me working. She saw my posts. She seen my constant episodes upload, everything. I'm always doing something. I'm always making sure I'm putting some type of content out.
Yep. And the thing about it is that you weren't afraid to put a price on yourself. And that's where people kind of fail, because they'll be like, yo, I can't charge them $100. Why? You don't know them. And even if you do know them, guess what? You should be able to. I'm not giving you the homie hookup. Like, you get a homie hookup to a point. After a while, this is a business. Now, you don't go into McDonald's and ask them for a homie hookup on a number two.
And that's the thing. That's something that's crazy, is because people, like, if they know you, they instantly want a discount.
Yep.
Or even like my wife and her brother, they have a mechanic shop, right? Why is it our people are the ones that come to, hey, let me get a discount?
Yep.
Like, hey, can you relax the price a little? Can you? And he already has the lowest prices around here.
Yep.
And we start thinking like, yo, you wouldn't go to Mavis or you wouldn't go to any of these other places and ask for a discount.
Nope.
So why are you coming here? Because you know me.
Yep.
Then you should be wanting to pay full price to support my business.
Yep. So that I could be here.
So I could continue to serve y'all.
Yep.
Not come and be like, yo, let me get a hookup. And that's where we mess up. Like, we see a friend doing business and we instantly want the hookup.
Yep.
Like, he's trying to grow his business.
Mm-hmm.
You should just go support him and pay full price.
Yep. Or guess what? Let him decide if he wants to give you the hookup. Because he'll
go to his store. Go to say somebody, one of your friends opening his restaurant. Go to his restaurant. Don't ask for no hookup. Just go.
Yep.
Order your food, pay, get ready to pay. And if he feels like, yo, I got you 10% discount.
Yep.
Don't worry about that. Or I'm giving you a discount. Let them decide to give you the discount.
100%.
Don't go in instantly, yo, let me get a hookup.
Can't do it.
That's the problem. That's our problem. We don't know how to support each other.
Nope.
But yet, again, we'll go out and pay. Buy a pair of Nikes. Buy something for people that don't care about us.
Yep.
That don't give anything back to us.
Nope. Because guess what? Culturally, we are people of color. Culturally, we're very important because we have to check off demographic boxes. We have to check off insertion points. We have to check off, hey, did you service this community? But at the end of the day, those companies, unless they're really putting in the reps in that community, they're not doing nothing. That's why sometimes you go to a store, hey, do you want to round up to donate to XYZ charity? And it's like, doesn't the company already donate to that charity? So my money is just making you guys give less. Think about that.
Yeah, that's what it is.
No, and people they just like, oh, I'm not donating because of X. And it's just like, you realize that, hey, for every $1 you spend, we'll donate $1. So then for every $1 I spend, why don't you donate $2?
And it's crazy because if you round up, right, to donate to charity, right?
Yep.
You don't get the recognition on that.
Nope.
They get the recognition.
Yep.
Because they're the ones who end up cutting out that check for that charity.
Yep. The big fat check. They hold it up in the photo.
So they didn't put the money in. Their customers did.
Yep.
They might have matched whatever the case, but you're not getting credit for that. So if you're going to donate money to a charity, do it yourself.
100%. Go out there and do it.
You can get the write-off.
Yeah. Or you know what? You can get that you could get that wealth in your soul about doing the right thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, it's that simple. Like, hey, round up. Okay, cool. I'll just do that. But it's just like, if you round up a couple of times a year and it's $50, just donate $50 to a charity and call it a day.
Yep.
That's it.
Definitely.
So I hope you guys took some value of that. I want to switch gears and jump into what I like to call the hot seat. It's our series of rapid fire questions covering a lot of the stuff we talked about, business, professional, and everything in between. I actually want to start with your process, your creative process. How do you compose an episode?
I have no structure whatsoever.
Really? Okay.
I don't. I don't even do pre-interviews because I just want it to be natural. When I sit down with someone, I wanted it to be natural. I tell them, listen, yes, you're here to promote whatever you're promoting or whatever, or we're here. But for the most part, I want my audience to get to know you as a person and see what kind of person you are. And so I have no structure to my show. It's just come in, you record.
That's impressive.
Whatever goes.
Very impressive. And what's your editing process like? Do you like to edit in silence? Do you like to edit, with some music? How do you sit there and get in the zone to do the editing? Because the editing is the part that really is the deal breaker for a lot of us.
Music. Definitely need some music to, like, even though I'm not really hearing it, I know it's there. So it keeps me distracted from while I'm doing the editing. But yeah, I definitely like to have some music on the side so that I can just focus on the editing part.
Are you an Adobe Audition editor?
No.
Look at that. What's your workflow? Your workspace of choice for your editing process?
Audacity.
See, people sleep on it, man. It's free $99.
Yeah, it's $3. Yes, it's $3.
Yep.
Definitely. But it does the work.
Yep.
I have Reaper. Yes, I have Reaper, and I use it once in a while. But for the most part, I use Audacity. It does everything I need it to do.
Audacity was my editor forever. And then somebody put me on the Hindenburg Journalist, and then I did it as a trial. And then for like Radio Day, they made it like super cheap. And I'm like, yo, I'm getting this. And then I still use Audacity. I use Audacity for ID3 tags to finish shows. Like, it's still there.
And that's what I love about Audacity is that part of it. When you export the MP3 and you can do all that information and put all that out.
Yep.
A lot of these other programs don't do that.
No, they do not.
So you can actually have artist name, title, album, whatever it is. So I love that about Audacity.
I agree. I'm right there with you. What are 3 mobile apps you can't live without?
3 mobile apps that I can't live without. Canva.
All right.
What else is there? It could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Retro Bowl, which is it's kind of like Tecmo Bowl football.
Oh, nice. Oh, now I gotta go look for that. You messed me up now.
And oh man, what else is that? What else do I use? And I guess it would be TikTok.
It's funny. There was a piece that came out recently that said that people are searching more on TikTok than on Google for stuff. And it's interesting because I see that sometimes because, again, our attention span has become so reduced that we can't even watch it on YouTube now. You'll be like, this guy's taking too long. TikTok, 12 seconds. Tell me how to fix this problem. Hilarious.
Oh, listen, I've learned so many different recipes from watching TikTok.
Yes. And I've also seen so many people get clowned for some of the food they make.
Oh yeah, no. Some of the food you like.
Let me put these hot dogs and macaroni and cheese in this pan.
That's stuff you do when you ain't got no food in your
Yeah, that's a struggle meal. 100%.
Yeah, it is. Listen, and we being from the city, we know what that is.
Yes, sir.
We know what that is. Hot dogs and mac and cheese. We know.
Oh man, I had people tripping out. I put a story up from back in the day when they used to put like the meat in the can that would have like a cow on it. There'd be like a silver can with a cow and a pig and a pork can. And they'd give it out with the big blocks of cheese.
With the big blocks of cheese. Yeah.
People were like, "Oh my God, why'd you take me there?" I'm like, because that was real.
Cheese.
Yeah, that was real.
Listen, the big block of yellow cheese that you would have to slice.
Yep. Oh my God, it was brutal. What's a website you recommend to people often?
Podmatch.
Nice.
No, I've been promoting Podmatch like crazy.
I am right there with you.
It's one of the only platforms where content creators get paid to interview people.
Yes, indeed.
Like in my bank right now, I've been in the paid. I've been in that paid service for the last 3 months, right?
Right.
Which is $18 I've paid for the 3 months so far, and I've already made my money plus some.
There you go.
But I'm not doing it because of the money. It's just the plus. It's just
a perk.
It's just a perk that they get because I interview people for free.
Amen to that.
So just the fact that that Podmatch is willing to give content creators money for interviewing people, like you'd be a fool not to take it. Even though someone is you might get paid $1 here, $2 here. I just seen the biggest one I saw today, which was almost $20 for interviewing somebody.
That's wild. What was the last thing you looked up on YouTube?
Les Brown.
All right. Obviously, we got the tech side. We got to talk a little bit about the toy side. What was your favorite toy as a kid?
Oh, my favorite toy as a kid?
Yep.
G.I. Joe's.
Nice. What's your favorite fictional character?
It's funny because I just finished watching the series, the new series on Amazon Prime. It would be Strider from Lord of the Rings.
Nice. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
Baseball player.
Do you still play?
I haven't played softball in a while. I'm up there in age, but it's been probably like, I would say 8 years since I last played.
What was the last book you read? Or listened to? Because some people like Audible and stuff.
Yeah. Last book I read. Oh man. The Plush Life from Prison to Peace, actually. It's my nephew's book, and I'm actually working on doing the audio book.
That's very cool. Who is your favorite content creator?
Sean Cannell.
So underrated. Like the work he's doing with the folks at Think Media.
Think Media, I love Think Media.
Yep, Omar Takori, all of them. They just crush it, man. Like they'll drop a video, and I immediately I'll be like, oh, I gotta watch this right now.
I've watched, like, a lot of the tech that I bought is because of Think Media.
Yep. I redid my studio space after seeing Sean's studio space video.
His studio is dope.
Yeah, I was like, man, I made some adjustments and made some stuff that works for me, but I was like, man, it's so clean. I was like, all right, I gotta borrow some ideas from this.
Bro, I'm definitely looking forward to redoing my studio.
There you go.
Definitely looking forward to it.
What's a non-negotiable for you when it comes to business?
Oh man, non-negotiable?
Yeah, man. Like, what's something when it comes to business you don't buckle on, you don't fold on, you don't compromise principles for?
Shortcuts.
That's what's up. What is something you've changed your mind on in the last 12 months?
Something I've changed my mind of in the last 12 months. Oh, man. That's a good question, man.
Because you're a free thinker, so I know, especially because you talk about so much real world stuff. Like, what's something that's come across that you were like, man, my thought process on that is completely different.
Okay, so I seen this conversation piece, this little piece. It was a little snippet, and they were talking to a couple, and the lady said that so it was something about the relationship, and she said something about, oh, her husband blew her mind when she asked him, why do you love me? And what he said was, because he chooses to. And that hit me kind of hard because I'm like, because my wife is always asking me that question. And she's like, why? I'm such a, like, she can be difficult at times, but I choose to love her because of the way she is with me, as far as like the way she has inspired me and pushed me. And to me, that was like something very, like you have to come, like to me, it was like, oh, you have to feel like you love someone, or you have that choice. And to me, that's something that I've learned in the last couple of weeks. This has been.
That's powerful. What's a piece of career advice you would give your younger self?
Step out of the box.
What's up? What do you splurge on when it comes to business or personal development? What's something that you'd be like, I need to have this?
Oh man.
Business or personal development. Could be anything. Courses, books. What do you hey, I gotta put money.
I love taking courses. I love taking courses. To me, it's very key. It's very important to me because I know I'm trying to develop and grow, and I don't have the answers to everything. So I love taking courses. Courses is something I like I said, this is something I invest heavily in. I invested in I took Sean Cannon's course. I love it.
Yep. I got his book.
Yeah, I have his book as well. I've taken courses from Eric Thomas's team, and everything like that. So when I see something that I feel like I can benefit from it, then I always sign up for it.
Would you rather have more disposable time or more dispensable income?
More disposable time or more dispensable income?
Yep.
More disposable time.
Yeah, you on that. How do you handle failure?
Pick myself up and keep going.
That's a hell of an answer right there. What is something or someone that makes you laugh easily?
My grandson.
Nice. Last but not least, I call you, I go, Wize, how's business a year from now? What would your answer be? What would you hope to answer?
It's going great. It's flourishing. I got more clients than I can handle.
That's what's up. And last but not least, we always close things off with what I like to call reach one, teach one piece of actionable advice to round things out. You get selected to speak to a group of high school seniors that are going to embark on their journey post high school. And a lot of them want to be content creators. What piece of advice would you give them as they head out the door into the world?
Just do it. Don't be afraid. Like, for me, it was press record. Like, especially if you want to be a content creator, whatever it is, if it's video, audio, press record.
That's what's up. Last but not least, as always, where can people find you, connect with you, and keep up with your work?
You can find my podcast, Stuck in My Mind, on every single major platform. You can find it on YouTube, Stuck in My Mind Podcast. You can check out my website, www.realwiseproductions.com. You can also check out the internet radio station, which is down at the moment, but it'll be back. It'll be up soon. It's www.realwiseradio.com.
That's what's up. Wize, I'm honored to get to chop it up with you and really share the toys and tech of your trade. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
I appreciate this, man. I appreciate you, brother. Like I said, you're a veteran. You're an OG of this. And to be able to come on your show and tell my story, it's a blessing, man. I appreciate you.
I never get tired of talking to fellow creators. As I said at the start of this podcast, I never get tired of it. And especially when it's creators in New York City, in the 5 boroughs, I just love sharing their stories. And here we have a guy like Wize that's out there just putting in the work, getting the reps in, and just turning his passions into a business. And more importantly, he is remaining authentic to himself. And I think that that's one of the biggest things as creators that many of us lose sight of. We get imposter syndrome, or we try to model ourselves after the people whose work we enjoy, whether it's Joe Rogan or Howard Stern or O&A or you know, Hot 97, anybody from Hot 97 or Power 105 here in New York City. Those individuals, they have a unique voice, a unique sound, and it is uniquely theirs. And because of that, I always tell people, just be you. Try and put your content out there being yourself. Trust me, there's plenty of people out there that are going to enjoy what you bring to the table, regardless of where they are, what walk of life they're from, or what they're into. If your content is informative, engaging, and entertaining, they'll come, they'll find you. It's that simple. And if you have aspirations of turning these endeavors into something that will, fund your lifestyle or pay your bills, then you gotta go in 110%, because that's the only way you're going to succeed. It is truly not a sprint. It is a marathon. And when you hear a story like what Wize shared in his journey, and, you know, I've shared various aspects of my journey over the years, you'll see that there's a lot of commonalities, but the one that sticks out the most is consistency. Be present and be consistent. If you say to yourself you want a podcast and you think, man, I'm going to podcast 2 episodes a week, and time does not allow you to do 2 episodes a week, then instead of phoning it in, scale it back. 1 episode a week, 1 episode every 2 weeks. Maybe you want to go long form and do 1 episode a month when you're motivated. But just start creating, hit record, and get moving. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. Everything that Wize and I discussed in this episode, products, services, etc., will be in the show notes as always. Full disclosure, some of those items will contain affiliate links, which if you click, will receive a small commission at no additional cost to you that goes towards making this and everything else from the Rageworks Podcast Network awesome for you to enjoy. Make sure to also check the show notes for ways to connect with Wize, check out his podcast, and any of the other stuff that he is working on. He is an A+ creator, and I am glad to have been able to share his story with you. And as I said at the top of the podcast, props to Podmatch for once again connecting me with a bomb-ass guest. Really grateful to the crew over there for all the great work they're doing. If you're a podcaster looking for guests, Podmatch is definitely a service that we co-sign. We receive no kind of money for saying that. We really do enjoy the great guests that they have put on our radar. And I also enjoy the many great podcasts that I have had the honor and privilege to be on since being a member of the Podmatch family. All right, folks, we hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Toys and Tech of the Trade. We will see you in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. And boy, do we have some great guests to take us into October and probably early November. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening. Peace. Toys and Tech of the Trade is part of the Rageworks Podcast Network, your source for rants about gaming, entertainment, and the works. Visit us at RageworksNetwork.com.